Is being recorded. Let me begin now. Hi everyone, this is Madhukar. I'm a Forge developer advocate. I've been with Autodesk for almost 10 years. My expertise is on AutoCAD and Forge design automation and Forge. And I have I have a good knowledge on the Forge. My predominant expertise is on design automation and as well as AutoCAD. The event format, some of you who might have attended the previous classes of Bootcamp, so you might be very well aware of the event, but who are only joining for the design automation, let me review the event format once again. It's a 4-day event. Each day is dedicated to different Forge tutorials, and the webinars are exercised for both AME and America time zones. And there are parallel webinars for both .NET as well as Node.js. And this session is on Node.js for Forge design automation service. During the webinar, I will be coding. You'll be following the steps. Then we will be giving enough time to you so that you can code and you can ask the questions and we will help you. Recordings will be available after the event. So you can use this chat option and Q&A option, and you can interrupt me at any time, and I'm happy to address your questions. Schedule the Forge Bootcamp for this year, that is pre-Autodesk University, has begun on September 13th, the Tuesday, and we started with simple viewer. On Wednesday, we did talk about the hubs, how to access the hubs from BIM 360 as well. And it also talked about three-legged authorization, browsing the project data, and previewing your data files on a viewer. And the Thursday, it's more of a dashboard. So it's a customizing your viewer, accessing design data, and adding custom UIs. And the Friday, that is today, we will be talking about the configurator. Till now, we always talked about accessing the data and viewing the data. And this session talks about modifying the data. So design automation, that's what we call. We have something called viewing the models, and this session talks about modifying the design data or modifying the modules. Any CAD data that you have, be it AutoCAD related data, Revit, Inventor, or Max. So welcome to the day 4, and thanks for joining this session. By end of this class, by end of this bootcamp session, we expect to build this sort of an application. This is a very simple application. It's a web application. If you can see that it has 2 parameters, that is the width and height. So based on engine, if it is an AutoCAD engine, we will be using a block in the AutoCAD drawing to modify the width and height of a block. If it is a window, if it is a Revit, it could be a window. So, and it's an Inventor, it could be a box kind of IPT file. So based on engine, the concept is simple. Like you have some element whose dimensions are given with width and height. We would use design automation to change those parameters. And we will see how that can be done using the design automation. The goal more of here is to understand the workflow of a design automation and not get into how writing the plugins of design automation application, because plugins are designed for each respective engines that is sitting behind our servers. So by end of this class, we will be developing this kind of a sample where we will be modifying or updating the width and height parameter for a given input file. So it could be AutoCAD, it could be Inventor, it could be Revit, or it could be 3ds Max. But I will be showing about AutoCAD. Similar logic can be applied for Revit, Inventor, or another engine, 3ds Max. The agenda for today, we will begin with introduction of design automation, and we'll also set up, and I will be coding with you from scratch. You can also do that. So internet setup, that is 8 to 9 a.m. GMT. And after this, we will have a short break for an half an hour. Then after this, we'll have something called basic server and UI. After that, we'll have after that there will be another break for an half an hour, and after that we'll be having a plugin app bundle, and after that we'll be having the activity and work item, and we will close the session. So it's almost a complete a morning session. We'll be taking walk through the samples. The timings are in GMT. So I think you can have the relevant time, take a note of it, so that when you take a break, you can come back at the right time. So let's start with while doing the introduction and setup, I will be switching between the PPTs and as well as with my desktop. I'll be doing from the scratch, so we can follow steps. But before that, I will show the introduction. So a forge is an umbrella term for the different services, different cloud services, and design automation has its own different stand in the forge. It's a different API that allows you to access, modify, update CAD modules, CAD data. Currently, we have 4 engines on our design automation servers with Autodesk Revit, Autodesk Inventor, Autodesk 3ds Max, and Autodesk Autocad. So you can use Autodesk Revit to update Revit models, and you can insert RFA Revit assembly modules. You can also import IFC modules, IFC data into the Revit design automation. And when it comes to Inventor, you can use Inventor design automation service to process the IPT and assembly files. And you can also use Inventor design automation to convert one format to the other format as well. You can convert an IPT data into RFA file using Autodesk Inventor. And we have 3ds Max, which we can use Autodesk 3ds Max to run Max scripts. You can do many of those 3ds Max activities which you've done on the desktop that can be done easily using Autodesk 3ds Max. And the next is the Autodesk Autocad. You can any task that you can be doing on the desktop that can be easily any batch operation basically that you have been doing on the desktop can be easily converted into design automation application, design automation plugin that can use our Autodesk Autocad engine in the background to run the automation objects. Overall, all these services you can run automation. When we say an automation which has a zero human intervention. So that's what the concept automation is. Once you write, then you can run this batch kind of operations over a period and over a time, and you can get the results very quickly. Let's understand how this is designed. Design automation is in a REST API. So you can access a REST API from a mobile app or a website. The REST API or something that API that communicates over HTTP protocol. So design, there is only a single monolith interface. Behind that, we have different engines. Based on the request and based on the choice of engine, we have picked design automation API communicates to the respective engines. So this is your code using Inventor API that communicates with Inventor server. If you have picked the design automation Inventor engine, if I have picked the AutoCAD, we have an AutoCAD instance or what we call an AC core console instance on our servers, and you'll be using you can write your code that leverages the AutoCAD API to talk with the AutoCAD server. And when you pick the design automation AutoCAD as engine, and when you pick the Revit as engine, you'll be communicating with the Revit server, and you can write the plugin, what you have been writing the plugin for the desktop, and you may have to do little tweaking to write application that doesn't use Revit UI or any of the UI functionality. So if it is a Revit, the code should be using the Revit database API. Whereas if it is an AutoCAD, it should be using AC Core MGD or ACDB MGD In any API that doesn't depend on the application UI, non-UI related code should be used while developing project on AutoCAD, as well as the same thing with the Inventor. So we have 4 engines as I discussed. Let's understand how this works in under the hood. You have this source data or the CAD data of familiar with the 4 engines. AutoCAD, if it is an AutoCAD, the input data could be DWG, DXF, or it could be DWS, drawing standard, or any other input file that AutoCAD can understand. If it is Revit, it could be the RVT or it could be IFC. And if it is Inventor, it could be IPT, it could be assembly file, or any of the Inventor supported translation data files. Inventor can be used to translate or to convert from one format to other format, whatever the Inventor it supports. And you have this, the 4th application code, and you have the source data. You need to upload your application code as well as the source data to the Design Automation API, and you'll be getting the reports. So if you want to convert, if you want to print a drawing to a PDF, this is the flow. You'll be passing an AutoCAD drawing to Design Automation, and you will get a PDF. Or you will be passing in Revit file, and you'll get an IFC output. Or you can also extract the information lying under the Inventor assembly, and you can generate some reports. Or simply you will get an AutoCAD drawing, and you will be modifying the AutoCAD drawing as you keep it as only where you modify the data. That's what in this example we will be showing. We'll pass one drawing with one AutoCAD block, which has a window and height parameters. Let's say we have 30 and 40 dimensions, and we will change from 30 and 40 to 60 and 80. So the drawing is modified. So that's what we are saying, that AutoCAD input drawing, and you'll also get a modified AutoCAD output drawing. And most interesting thing about Design Automation is just not about this accessing engine, but you can also leverage multiple engines. So you can use Inventor and Revit in your workflow, or you can use AutoCAD and Revit in your workflow. You can combine multiple engines in your workflow. That is the biggest advantage you'll get using Design Automation. Or else, if you want to do the same thing in desktop, you need to get the licenses for the Revit, Inventor, AutoCAD, and 3ds Max. But with Design Automation, you need not. So you can access multiple engines in your workflow. So let's say how it works under the hood. This is you as a developer. You need to make sure the data is available in the cloud. Need not necessarily it has to be in the cloud, as you said, like in Dropbox or Google Drive. It can be behind your server endpoint as well. So all it needs is the data should be able to access over HTTP. We are completely cloud agnostic. The data could be behind anything. It could be Azure, Google Drive, Dropbox, OneDrive, or your server endpoint. We really do not care much about where the data is located, as long as data is accessible over HTTP. Once you make the data is available in the cloud, you need to send those links of those data to the Force Design Automation. This is you as a developer, you need to send those links, and if the data is behind some protection, you need to send those authorization for us, the permissions, so that Design Automation API can access those data. And based on this link, Design Automation will download this inputs via web request. Again, this is an HTTP request. It will access those files to the Design Automation server. And if there is a code you have uploaded to the Design Automation server, we will run that code. Or if there is no code, if you have certain commands or script, we will be running that command. Based on AutoCAD, we have a command for AutoCAD. For Revit, it could be your code, it could be application bundle. So if we find that the logic or code that's available with that your application, then we will be running your code against those inputs, and we will process whatever the business logic present in this code, that will be run against those inputs. And those, after running the code, the inputs will be generating certain outputs. And those we upload results back to the same links which you have sent to us. Throughout this process, the inputs and outputs are not stored. When I say inputs and outputs, the files which we downloaded and are not stored. Once we finish this process, the files are discarded. We will be erased completely. So to put it in other words, let's say you have an A drawing. You have a drawing. Let's name it as A, and that's available in the Dropbox. You have created a link of it and you have sent to us, and you're asking us to convert the drawing to PDF. And we ran certain script commands using the AutoCAD, and we created a PDF. And the PDF we have given back to the same Dropbox link which you have shared with us. So now the PDF is sitting in your Dropbox. Now again, if you want to use the same drawing to print, we will be not having the drawing at our end. So again, you need to send the input of the drawing A to us so that we will be able to generate a PDF. So it means that per session, or what we call this as a work item, the one work item has no knowledge of other work item. So that the data, we don't know what is the data which you are giving. We are this process is completely adiabatic, or it's completely opaque to us. So once the work item finish, this whole process, what we call is a work item per session. Once this work item gets finished, the complete whatever the data you have given or whatever the data we have sent to your links is erased, is discarded from our end. This you need to make sure. And so to begin our class, if you have any questions, you can ask me. And now we will be going into the prerequisites, how to forge design automation application. Any questions? If not, I will go ahead. Okay, thank you. So let's create a Forge account. So I will also ping here that link so that it will help you. Go to this link, create an app. So let me go here. Sign in. Okay, we'll get the tool dot. Okay, you can come to the applications. So create an application. I'm naming something like a Forge 2022 September AU. For September Bootcamp AU 2022. You can name anything. It says server side apps with no end user, uses client credentials. I'm going with the traditional web app. Just create it. Your application is created. Take a note of your client ID, and we will be using this callback for design automation. We really don't need a callback URL, as we'll be using a two-legged OAuth, but you can keep it. We'll be using 3000. But this has no relevance for our application. With your settings, and please take a note of it. So we come here. Let me go to what codes. Let me create a directory called codes sample. Code. And what I will do is I will just put my codes. I'm just creating a batch file. So codes, client ID. Yes. Set codes. Secret. So let me stop the screen. Okay, so I have taken a note of my client ID and client secret in a batch, so that it will come use handy for me while working on it. So if I run this code, you can see that Forge client ID. I just suppressed my echo of a Forge client secret. Forge client secret is very, you need to protect your client credentials. This can be shared, client ID can be shared, but not the client secret. And if for some reason you have uploaded into GitHub, then you need to immediately come and regenerate it. You need to rotate your client secret. This is a very important security protection that you have to keep in mind. And do not share your client credential when you upload it to your project to GitHub or some other third-party tools. You need to have a cautious. You need to be very cautious while sharing, while porting your applications or while zipping your application to some other tool. Okay, and save changes. So let's come to PPT. For this session, you don't need AutoCAD, Inventor, TDS Max. We will be providing the plugins. All you need is the Node.js and the VS Code. So next, we have created a Forge account and we also got the Forge credentials. And if you want to check, you can click on this link as well. Once this is created for me, if I close this and if I come back again and open this, my apps, you can click on this and this is your Forge. So you can also create any name for it. And as a practice, I created a Forge sample directory, and in this directory, the complete code will be generated. So you also create a simple directory. I'll be using most of the time the console application because this is easy and it's a good practice also. And we will be shifting between the VS Code and as well as Node.js. The next in the PPT, we created this. If you have any questions so far, just ping me, or else I will go ahead. Next is the dev environment. So Node.js. Go to the Node.js. Please download this LTS. I think I have already Node. Sorry. I already have a V16 15.1, which is an LTS support, that 16 point something. But if you do not have, please click. This is for Windows. You can click here and download the Node.js. I already have, so I'm not installing it again. Next, and codevisualstudio.com. Let me ping those things here so that it will be easy for you. This will take, if this is the first time you are doing, this will take some time. No issues, just to install. We have ample of time till 9 a.m. till 9:30 a.m. You have time. And next is the web request tunnel. So okay, let me go to this code. After this, you can type code Visual Studio. You go here and you download it. Even I have Visual Studio at my end. So it's a 1.70 code. I also have Visual Studio code at my end. So let me remove this clear scheme. You can download this. Download for Windows stable environment. So let me ping that as well. Okay, I pinged it. Next, this is important. Let me explain why we need ngrok. So go to this website and download ngrok. For Windows, you can use Choco install ngrok. For Mac, you can use these tools. So based on your operating system, I think Mac OS and Windows would be the most used operating systems, I am assuming. If not, let me know. So once you install that, it's important for ngrok to add a token. If you don't have a token, you need to sign up into ngrok, and it will create a token for you. So I will show you the token. I have already created an ngrok account. So I have logged in. I have created an user account. So if you go here, this is the token. So or else you can run this command ngrok config add over token. The command line. After installing ngrok, you can run something like this. So I already have a ngrok, and also token is already configured. Now let's understand why we need this ngrok. If you look at the description, ngrok exposes a local network services behind the firewalls to the public internet over a secure tunnel. Why we need, when we are testing a design automation service, we'll be running in the local host, but we have to listen to the certain webhooks of the design automation offers. That is, design automation has two kind of callbacks: on progress and on complete. When we submit a work item to the design automation service, that is the time when the on progress callback will start listening. So when for design automations to talk to our local host is only local to our computer. It's not available in the public network. So design automation will be not able to come back to our computer network. So what we have to do is we have to elevate our local host from a local network to public network. That can be done by using such tools like ngrok, which will expose a local host network into public network. So the design automation will be able to talk to the public network. And this is only important while we are developing and debugging our application. Once we deploy our application to the production server like Azure or AWS or anything or your own VPC, we don't need this ngrok. That URL to which URL Design Automation is uploaded, that URL will be replaced with this localhost. So now it may be little confusing, but once you will do this tutorial, you'll come to clear. In a nutshell, why we need ngrok? The reason why we need ngrok is to expose our local network to the public. So ngrok will does to understand that. Let me show you something. So let me create from here. Okay, so let me start. I have a Python server. So now a server has started, a local host. If I go here, so you can see that my credentials, right? But this local host is not accessed by your URL. So what I can do is, I'll go back to here. I will type ngrok. Look at ngrok. It says HTTP. I will be using this command. Ngrok, HTTP. One second. Let me go here. So I'm telling ngrok HTTP 3000 because I'm listening on the 3000 port. I'm listening on 3000 port. And HTTP, I'm going to say localhost 3000. Now it will create a tunnel. So what I will do is, let me close this. Okay, now we have something. Now you can, let me ping this. Now you can click this so that you'll be able to access this. You can access hello world. So this is very, if you look at, this is very important that you run during development alone. We can't, because we are exposing a local host. That's why you're getting a dangerous. This is important to understand. This is important to understand only for development, not for production. So to hold this exercise to understand why we need ngrok, you can say it's very tricky to use the server. If not for production level, but only for development, so the design automation will come and talk to the service. So let me close this. So come back. Let me cancel this. Come here and delete all these things. So I have this, and let me suppress my server. So hope you understood why we are doing this. Next, if you have any questions, please bother me, please ping me. Next, after installing ngrok code and Node.js, our next session is on basic server and UI. And meanwhile, please do install. We'll be having a short break. The session will be paused. If you have any questions, let me know. The session will be paused and I will come back exactly. Now the time is 2 at my end. So that is like 8:30 a.m. GMT. So we'll be resuming back at 9:30 a.m. GMT. So if you look at our agenda, the basic server will start at 9:30. So I'll come back. But the session will be on. If you have any questions, you can ask me. I'm stopping the share. Thank you for your patience and your break. Hope you are able to. So now we will be doing the basic server and UI. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask me and do not interrupt me. Do not hesitate to interrupt me. I'm continuing the next part of the session, that is a basic UI and intro. So we have completed intro and setup, and I believe that you are able to download Visual Studio Code, Node.js, and as well as ngrok. So if you're stuck somewhere, let me know. We have finished this. So now the next part of the session is the basic server and UI. Okay, let's understand the architecture, how we have created this basic sample. So on the server side, we are using Node.js as a server-side language. And for the client side, you will be using the basic HTML and JavaScript and CSS. So we have created our application architecture design is such that we have a server side that will listen to some endpoints. These endpoints, which are created on the server side using Node.js Express framework. It's a very friendly, lightweight web framework to communicate between the client and server. It's a what we call as a REST web framework. It's a micro framework, and it's a very friendly framework that we are using here in this tutorial called Express. So that can handle the routing calls. So on the server, we have a routing calls. These routing endpoints are called from the client side. And so we will have this endpoints for API for different functionalities. And from this endpoint, we will be calling the actual Forge API. And we cannot call Forge API directly from the client side because Forge API needs an authorization. So any API that has an authorization token that needs to be avoided to be calling from the client side because of security reasons. And so that's the reason we have created a server side where we can store our credentials and where we can generate authentication authorization tokens. And to call any of this Forge API, we need an authorization token that we will generate it on the server side. And we'll using that token, we'll be calling the respective APIs from the server side. And we will be calling the server endpoint from the client side. So this is how we do. So server, client, and Autodesk API. So all the API calls are routed back to the Autodesk ports to this server framework called Express. And client will always call the server API until unless we have something else which you can directly call directly from the client to the Forge API. That's what we call a single page application. But this is not a single page application. This is a proper web application where we have a server. We have a front end which we call as a client side. So if you have any questions, let me know. This is a basic architecture of our application. So now steps. First, we will initialize a new project, new NPM project, and we'll install the dependencies. And then we create a new launch configuration from VS Code. I'll be using VS Code as we have downloaded just now. We'll prepare a configuration data config.js, and we'll create a basic Express server start.js, and we'll create a router for authentication endpoints, and we'll set up a basic UI. This is the basic steps. So let me run through the steps after this. So in this session, for the next 1 hour, I will be doing this. So please carefully follow me. If you have questions, ask me. So I have come to here. We have prerequisites. We have created Node.js. So go to this link and we'll be following this link. Let me ping you here. So next, you need to, once you go to this link, select the language that's Node.js. The first thing is to create a project. So let me, so you can do it in different ways. Create a folder on your machine. Do not use any spaces. Avoid special care. For this, let's use fourth sample. If you look at, I'm already in the fourth sample. I have created a directory. So it says that open a Visual Studio Code. Let me open this code dot. So it will open that folder. So next here, come back. Open it, then go to main file, open folder, select the newly created folder, which I've already done using a simple step called go to this directory and type code dot. It will open that in this directory. So next, we need to run npm init. You can go here and you can come here. You can do np init from here, and I'm comfortable doing this command line and switching to the VS Code, but some people directly do it here itself. So let me know if the font, if I need to increase the font size, or hope the font is visible to you, but let me know if the font or it's not clear to you. So come back here and do npm. Okay, 1 second. I need to be. this I need to go into the VPN to run the npm, because we have to use a different kind of a enterprise registry. For you, that's not required. So I'm logging to the VPN. It takes like 1 minute. Okay, now let me run npm init. Okay. Okay. I don't know now. Let's see, what does it say? Index.js. It says start.js. So let me type start.js. We don't have a text command. Let me type this. Git repository. No. I can type your name like I type. These are all basic. Yes. So new minus. Okay, fine. You can install, but I'm okay with this. Next, I need to install all these packages. So you can install one after the one. npm install. Let me go here. You can see this. This. So this is fine. Come back here and let me install all this. npm install express. Save. So this is okay. Next, npm install multer. So we will understand why we need this. Express is for the web framework, and this application multer is for the file uploading. And this body parser is for JSON handling. And socket IO is for the communication, broadcasting the notification from the server to the client. And form data is to submit the form that we upload the file from the client. And design automation is the API to use the design automation service. And we are also using the Forge APIs. This npm packages will help us to upload our data to object storage services. Apart from that, we are not using any other API from this Forge API. And design automation is the main API for us to run, process the design data files like work item, activity, etc. Okay. Next, I have installed multer. Now next, let me install the cookie session. Next, install the Forge APIs. Okay, and next install Forge design automation. Body password. Next, install form data. Let me clear the screen. Next, install socket IO. Next, okay, done. If you look at while installing all this npm package, I have been using the save argument. This parameter indicates that model should be included in the package JSON file as a dependency. So we are making sure that our Forge application have these three dependencies, and these are all have a developer dependence. That's why we are using a save parameter. So let me close. Come back here. If we go here, we can see that node modules, and it has created there and packages. So if you come here and inside the script, we will add this. So the script will add node.startjs, and the rest looks okay to us. And if you look at the version number for JPS, it's 0.9.2 and 4.00. I'm using Multer. I'm using all the latest applications, but that should work. Need not worry about that. Next. Now the other important thing is we need to create the launch JSON. So come here, run, add configuration, click on the add configuration. So Node.js, click the Node.js. It has created a launch JSON. So come back here and in the configurations, you can copy this and just copy this. Program. So I have created a program that's a start.js works type of PDA and skip files, node internals, etc. So we need to enter the client ID. So let me go here and you can see that my client ID is here. Let me type that. Of course, I'll be changing this pretty soon. And we need to type the Forge webhook here URL. So to run that, come here in graph HTTP 2000 host header equal to localhost dot 3000. Okay, it has created this one. Let's copy this, come back here and type this. Okay, now come back here and type this. So we created the environment. Now next, now we have entered the client ID and client secret. The reason why we need to put in the launch.js is to help us in while debugging. But if you are not debugging, we can start directly from here. Like there is no start file. If you're not debugging, we can and run this and you can npm start. You can npm you can start. This will start our Node.js. Since there is no start.js, we'll have to create that file as well. So first, let's file. This file creates an Express server. So let me create that start.js. So come here. Start.js. Let me copy this. So we need to have .server, .socket OU. So we need to also have a server.js. Next. So again in the root file, root name creates server.js. Okay. So let's see what this file says. Our app is located in the server, which and basically that app is Express, and this server starts the socket IO, which is important to have to broadcast the communication between server and the client side. We have something called on complete and on progress callbacks for design automation. These notifications are sent from design automation to the client server. From server, we need to broadcast the information back to the client as soon as we get the notification from the Forge design automation service. To relay that communication between the client and to relay the communication between HTTP and client, we are using this socket.io. Okay, we also created. Now we need to create socket.io.js in the same root folder. The root folder is the folder which has the forge.sample. It's a root folder. Let me create socket.io. Okay. So we have a start.js that is calling a server. In server, we have a path, express, cookie session. Okay, we need a config.js as well, where we will be using the client ID and client secret. And server.js is the where we are initiating the express instance. And this will be listening to the server endpoints. If you look at this /API, this is the one of the endpoint. When we call this .API, it will be routed to the design automation endpoint. Okay. And we have set the port to 3000. We also have the environment variable port. And cookie session is to manage the lifespan of a two-legged OAuth token. That's why we have 3600 seconds, which is around 1 hour. Okay, next config. Again, in the root folder, create a config file, config.js. So if you look at this config file, contains all the environment variables. We are not hard coding anything. We are fetching from the process. When we run this batch file without debugging, that will be picked from here. We have Forge client data, Forge client secret. We don't have a callback URL. This is not required, but for us, the Forge webhook URL is important. And we have something called scopes. We have two types of scopes: internal scope and public scope. Internal scopes are the scopes which are required by the server side. like creating creating resources, bucket creation, reading the bucket, deleting the bucket, and reading the data from the bucket, OSS bucket, object storage service bucket, reading the data, creating and writing. And we also have something called code.all, and this is a special scope that is relevant to design automation. Whereas these three are relevant for Forge object storage services, where the files go and reside in Forge. Whenever we upload a file from our client side, that goes and reside in the storage services. And this is viewables.read. When the data is uploaded to the OSS, the data can be translated into a viewable format. And to access that viewable format, we need a token. And for that, we'll be using this viewables.read OAuth token. So we will, while generating token, we will give this kind of a scope only to read the viewer, because it's a client-side viewer. Okay, next, and we have something called client with exponential backoff. The importance of exponential backoff is when we call an API, Forge API from our server, the API may throw an error. So we will be retrying after the time. This time is decreased exponentially. So let's say we called an API and it failed with 429, and we're going to retry that in 30 seconds, let's say. And again, if it fails, we will be not retrying within 30 seconds, but the 30 seconds will be exponentially reduced to like 10 seconds. Again, the next retry will be reduced to the 100 milliseconds. So that exponential backup, the retrying duration between each retry will be expanding more, exponentially more. So that's what this exponential backup is called. Backup delay by 4,000. This is the exponential quotient, which will be delayed by 4,000 for every retry. And maximum number of retries are 7. So, and the request timeout is 13,000 milliseconds. So these are basically for a client, customization units, customization parameters for run a Forge API client. And next, after config, we need to create a routes directory. Come here, create a routes. So this routes has something, again, this routes, we have to create something called common directory. In the common, we have something called ORJS. Okay, in ORJS, here in ORJS, what we are doing is we are getting our client toollet. This instance will help in creating an authorization token. And there is something called get client. So the SIG function get client. This get client will give the API client to create a OAuth token. Next, I think that's it. This project is ready. At this point, the project should look like this. So we'll come from the again start. We have a server. You can see the server.js is created. Now let's go to the server. This is the native module, and this is the express is coming from the install application, but which we have installed through npm. Cookie session is another npm package. Config, we have a config.js. So let's go to the config.js. If you look at here, all we have is accessing the client ID and client secret. Come back to, now let's go to the socket. If you look at the socket, again, we are calling HTTP, which is a native package, native module from Node.js. And here we're calling socket.io, which is a npm package that we have installed. And we are here in this socket.io.js, we are starting a connection, the connection between a client and a server. Okay. Next, start socket. Okay. If you get an error, we are also handling that error as well. Next, the server express config we have done, and we are getting an express instance, and we are saying that all the files that are part of this public directory or the static files. That's what we are mentioning here, the express.static. We need such images, files, whatever that can be downloaded by the client, which is the browser, are called static files. And we are also incorporating a cookie session for our express instance to follow certain time. After this time, the token gets in, becomes invalid. And we are also telling the upload limit of file is 50 MB. So if you upload a 1 GB file using our application, it will not work because we are telling that the data is max is 50 MB. And this is a single endpoint to run this design automation. Okay, now everything looks good. And next, go to basic UI. Pick the language Node.js. Now we need to create a public folder. Public folder. In that, we need to create index.html. So let me copy this. So let me quickly walk through what are all there in this HTML. We are using a jQuery. We are using this jQuery to call server APIs from client side. We are using the Bootstrap to decorate our application. These are the two applications which we are using, and the other one is the Socket.io. This is important to communicate between the client, that is browser, and the server. We have installed Socket.io on Node.js, and we also created socket.io.js on to communicate, and we also have something called post design automation.js, so which we'll be creating now. And these are all the how to create our application, different divisions or div items. Next, okay, we need to create a JS folder, and we need to add post. Let me copy. So if you come here and so we are using a jQuery. When the document is ready, we are preparing the list. We're clearing an account. We are defining an activity. We are defining creating a bundle activity, and we are starting work item. So it's very cool. When the document starts, we are doing the 4 operations, and this clear account is one operation that requires when you want to really clear your account. When we run this operation clear account, all the resources that Forge application design automation has will be erased. It will be completely clean slate. All the versions of your activity, versions of an app bundle will be erased. And we also have an activity model. This is also one-time operation. When we create, when you click on this operation, it will create a design automation activity. And this will create the bundle, design automation of bundle, where we upload our upload our application logic, that is plugin code. And when we do all these things, then we have something called a start work item. And this is where we will trigger the design automation server, and it will process your files based on subplate code, and you'll get certain output. And if you look at, there is something called start connection. This start connection builds a kind of a handshake between a client and a server to have the two-way communication using the sockets. Next, okay, the final result should look like this. Yes. Okay, and this is so far. If you have any questions, let me know. And if you look at what we have completed, we created a new NPM project, we installed the dependencies, we created a new launch configuration, we prepared a configuration data, we created a basic server, start and we created a router for authentication endpoints, and we set up the basic UI. At this point, we can't run anything, but to look at one. So next is the plugin and bundle. Now its time is 3:30 at my end, so that means it could be 10 a.m. So if you look at our agenda, we'll be back at 11 a.m. We'll be back at 11 a.m. GMT. I will be pausing the share. I will be stopping the share, and I will be pausing even record. If you have questions, let me know. I'll be here. Till then, bye-bye. Have a good break. I have resumed the recording, and if you have any questions, let me know, or else I will go ahead with the next part of the session. So it's about a plugin and app bundle. In this session, we will be not writing plugin, but we'll be using one of the existing plugins available in our GitHub repository. But we'll understand why we need this app bundle and how to use this plugin logic code in design automation. So you can download bundles from here. There you go. So choose any of this one, but let me know which sample you have used because this sample requires the engine is Autodesk Autocad 24.1, and this all requires. I'll ping that. So let me ping here, and please download this. So I'm using this DWG param. So I will just download this. Okay, before that, come here, prepare a plugin. Let me so you have to download the zip from the bundles. Let me did I pick that? Yeah. Please download these bundles and okay, now let me show this. So I will do. So based on bundle, we'll be using that type of engine because it's important that these bundles may not work with all the engines, all versions of engine. So the bundles when we created, it may work for Revit 2021, but it may not work for 22 or 23. That's why for all these bundles, if you're picking a Revit bundle, tried to pick the Revit 2021 engine. For AutoCAD, it's AutoCAD 24.1 and Inventor 2021, 3ds Max, 3ds Max 2021. So let me go back here. Go back, go back, go back. Okay. Now, let me create a bundles directory here. So create a bundles directory in the root. And look at here. Change directly to the bundles. So to here, we need to download that. Come here. Download. Okay. Now we have to prepare a plugin. I will walk through it, what it takes to write this plugin. And you need not worry about this plugin for this session because you can download the bundles from here and create a bundles folder in the root directory, that is in the 4th sample directory. And to that bundles, you can upload, update DWG param-zip, whatever the engine, if the choice you want to pick. Now let's come here. Let's revise what we have discussed from the morning. We talked about how to create a server, and we also created how the basic UI. The next part of it is preparing a plugin. So design automation is using the same kind of manifest for package that we use for a desktop. So if you look at this Autodesk App Store Developer Center, all the apps hosted on our Developer Network App Store follow certain kind of a format that is called a bundle mechanism. That bundle mechanism uses a package.xml format. This package.xml, and this package.xml contains a manifest. In that manifest, let me open this. So I will show this one. Let me copy this and put it in some other directory. So if you unzip, now in this unzip, we have this something called update DW param bundle. If you look at the param bundle, this bundle directory will have something called contents. That contains the resources. For AutoCAD, we are using a .NET API, that is a .NET DLL, and this DLL is dependent on Newtonsoft Json DLL. So all the modules, the resources are placed in contents. You can also have different directory structure and contents, but at the bare minimum, bundle should have 2 folders. That is a package contents.xml and the contents. So now let's look at this contents.xml. So it's a manifest file, or it's an XML manifest file. So it has a company details and it has the components. If you look at the components, it has a runtime requirements, which OS it is targeting your application, which platform. It is AutoCAD. If it is Revit, it could be Revit. This is the basic runtime requirement. And we have something called component entry, which will talk about your application name and that application's module, the business logic. And you can write this app description as optional. And This module is exposing only one command that is called update param under the group name FPD commands. So this is how we construct. This is very simple package.content XML, but there are some advanced. If you go to if you go to app data, if you're a desktop developer, if you go to the app data and go to Autodesk and application plugins, you can see one of the application that is created by our AutoCAD team. To open this, if you open this, you can look at, you can build a very complex, but for design automation, we really don't need this level of advance where we can write help files, upgrade code, author, product type, friendly version. And we can also write the separate company details, runtime requirements, component, and we can also write even register entries. So our package.xml has a very advanced usage. You can also package content XML. So sorry. This is the package content XML format reference. You can always refer this when you're to understand. So coming back to our thing, so this is the simple one. We have only one module, and this module exposing only one command, and we're targeting for AutoCAD. But if it is Revit, it could be different. It will be something different. So let me download even Revit. Download. So save here. Extract. Now, if you look at this, so if you look at the Revit, we are targeting R21. This is the max series, and minimum series R21. So this module, this application, this bundle will only work with this engine version, Revit 2019 to 2021. And it has a component on load and Revit startup, load and command invocation, and there is something called app description. If you look at, it's almost similar with AutoCAD, but AutoCAD has a concept of commands. And for Revit, we have something called add-in. So this is a module that will have which DLL needs to be loaded. So if you come back to the contents, you can see that you can add in. If you look at this, has a one assembly, update Revit param, and these are the manifest file for add-in. For this is very specific to Revit, which will be loading a add-in. In AutoCAD, will be directly loading this DLL. That's only different. And for Inventor also, we have something similar thing. So you can go back to Inventor, then go back to bundles. So let me download this. Download. So update IPT param. Copy. Extract. Come here. Again, if you look at the contents, so there are many modules. That package. So we have only one component. Again, same thing. This is something called dot inventor dot add in. And it, like Revit, it also has a dot add in manifest. Come back here and go to the contents. Look at here, add in. There is something like class ID, client ID, bit IPT parent, and there is something called DLL. So if you look at for Inventor, there is something called add-in. Revit has add-in manifest, but no two add-in manifests are same. They're different. This has a different type of add-in manifest, and this has a different type of add-in manifest. But package contents XML manifest is same. The underlying how you load the modules, the structure may be different, but as a whole, the package contents is same. If you look at the package contents, this is uniform across all the engines. Components, runtime requirements, component entry. For AutoCAD, we are directly loading the .dll. But for other engines, we have something called .add-in. Okay, this should be very clear. If you have any questions, please do let me know. Okay. So we have placed in our bundles. Next. Close this, close this, close this. Okay. And now we understood the structure of package content XML. Why we need this? We are using the same technology what we used for the desktops. So the same technology of loading your custom modules. We are using the same technology that is called package.content. And for design automation, for desktop application, you need not zip it. The bundle should be can be placed in app data folder or program dot folder, and AutoCAD or any other desktop application will directly detect and pick it up. But for design automation, we need to zip the bundle, and we need to upload that file zip it to the design automation server. So to develop plugin, this session may not talk about how to write a plugin. That's a completely different thing. Based on engine, you need to know the AutoCAD API. If it is Inventor, you need to know iLogic API. If it is Revit, you need to know the Revit database API to build an applications. So I'm choosing the AutoCAD, but you can choose any other engine if you want. But the concept is same. So in this tutorial, I will give a brief introduction how to prepare an AutoCAD bundle. I have already downloaded the bundle. So we'll to start with if you're creating an AutoCAD application for design automation, the most important thing is when you create in a project. When you create a project, you can install AutoCAD.NET Core package, .NET package, and you need to only install this AutoCAD.NET Core, which also installs AutoCAD.NET module, and you need to install the Newtonsoft JSON to deserialize and serialize JSON objects. This is very important. You should only install .NET Core module, not anything else, because our application should not have any UI related dependencies. So these are the packages that are available. In the command.cs, we have only one command, that is update param. This update param will be run against a design automation service. This command gets executed and the following code will be running. This update parameter, what it does is it will try to find that block in the model space and try to get those parameters, and those parameters is changed with the parameter input parameters given through a JSON file. we will understand how this JSON file is converted into a .NET object. We are using the Newtonsoft module to convert, deserialize the JSON file. Okay. So look at here. This param JSON, we'll understand how the input parameters that we give on the client side will be converted into a JSON file, and that JSON file will be given to the design automation server, and the design automation server will take the JSON file and it will read the values, the data available in JSON file, and run against your application. So next, this is very high level overview of the plugin. If I choose an AutoCAD. In the bundle, there is something called a post build event. When you build this application, the contents and the bundle need to be wrapped into a zip file. For that, we are using the 7z. But for this session, you did not use, because already we are giving a compiled binaries to you, which I have shown just now, that how to download the bundle from the GitHub repository and put it in your Node.js root directory. Now, this is very important. Now we have created, now we have an application bundle. Now, how do we write a code for creating app bundle and uploading to the design automation server? So for that, we need to create a folder. Inside the route folder, we need to create a design automation.js. So come here, look at routes. Not here. So we created design automation.js. Copy. So this is the code for creating app bundle and uploading to the design automation server. So this is the utils code. And next, before creating an app bundle, we need a router endpoint for the app bundle. So we need to define app bundle with plugins, selecting the appropriate engine, following endpoint with after the util class. So if you look at, let me explain what this does. And the next thing, this util class, we have something called util class. This util class is about getting the design automation client. If you look at it, it is getting a design automation instance, and we are using the design automation instance to authenticate for two-leg token, and we're also resolving the local bundles folder from the bundles directory. And there's a method for getting the nickname, that is from the config client ID, and an alias. We are hard coding the alias to the div. And we have a method to find the files in the folder and filter them. So this is the API client for the design automation API. And this, all the codes are for the engine attributes. As I said that we have 4 engines. If it is AutoCAD, the command line is the AC core console, that is the instance of AutoCAD, headless instance of an AutoCAD that gets executed. If you select the Inventor, we have something called Inventor core console. If you select the Revit, you have something called Revit core console, and same way we have 3ds Max. And this is this method gets triggered when we upload the file from your client UI. So let me check, come back here. This is a class, so I need to router. So we have two endpoints. One is app bundle, that is get app bundles, and another is the engines. And we also have the post app bundle. This is where we post the app bundles to a design automation server. So let's go to the router. This is the router coming from the Express. Now, if we run our web API, we should be able to see this window. So let me come back here, come back. So it is still running. Let me execute this, see if it works. Close this. I'm doing F5. So it's listening on localhost 3000. We can see this one. Come to the configure. Now, if I select, it has picked all these bundles. From where it has picked from the bundles directory. So how this communication is happening, let's understand. So as I said that we have this route. Let me put a breakpoint here. And we also, this is for posting a new app bundle. But before that, we already bundles are there. So let's, where is the get. Wait. Now, you can see first thing, it has hit the engines. It has called the engines. So if we come here, when we run this, when we load this application, this document, when we load this document, we have something called design automation in server. Similarly, we'll have something called post design automation in the client side. So if you look at this one here, we are calling API forge design automation dot app bundle on the create app bundle, and the engine. So this is the API that gets called when the document is running the prepare list. There is no activity API right now, so this router will fail. It will not call. But these two things gets called. One is the first engine, and the next is the app bundles. So we have a this is in the client side, the force design automation. We're calling this endpoint, so it will come and trigger here force design automation engine. Okay, so this API will call the get engines. We're calling the design automation endpoint, design automation API. Using that API, we're calling the get engines. So Now it has picked up. It has picked the local app bundle. It has sorted out all the app bundles and nothing is found. Why? Oh, okay. It has command has invoked. Let me stop this and run again F5. So let me do this. We have come to here engines. It is finding the files. It's not happening. My client is connected. Okay, it has now it has picked the events. When I'm debugging it, it is coming here and it's going the timeout error. So when I stop the debugging, it has picked all these events. You can see from here configure. When I load this document from here, when I load this document, first thing it will does is the preparing the lists. So we have three kind of lists here: activity list, engine list, and app bundles. This is the list it has to populate it, but we have not yet that will happen in the next session, but we have not yet gone through. For now, the only two lists have prepared. One is the app bundle, and it has populated all the bundles that's available in our local bundles folder, and it has called the get engines API, and it has given me the full list of all the engines. Now, if I want to use this DWG, I need to select this and I need to create. But these buttons will not work, but you will have an overview of understanding. Any questions? If not, uh, we will come back after some other time, like 6. We have here plugin app bundle, and we'll gather again at 12:30 p.m. for the activity and work item. But if you have any questions, do let me know. I'll be pausing the share and please continue this. I think it got crashed. Resume the recording. So we discussed about the plugin and app bundle, and now we will be discussing about the activity and the work item. Let me summarize what we have discussed so far. We have understood how to set up a forge design automation application. That is, what are the prerequisites that required. First is the Node.js, which is the development environment, the development language, and Visual Studio Code, which is a development environment. And we also installed ngrok, which is a tunneling software, which is useful for local debugging. After these three, we have downloaded the prerequisites. Next we understood how to set up the basic UI and how to initiate a server of using with the Express is the web framework that we have used, which is the Node.js framework to start a server, which will be listening to the endpoints that have been posted from a client side. In the client side, we have used the jQuery and Bootstrap to the framework. Bootstrap which is a front-end framework, which is more of a mobile-first CSS framework. And we have used jQuery to call the request to call the server endpoint request. So this is the basic setup and UI. After basic setup and UI, we also understood how to upload app bundle to design automation server, and we have seen that we have downloaded 3 bundles, one for each engine, that is AutoCAD, Revit, and Inventor. Then after that, we also seen how the communication establishes between the client and the server. We have seen that how from a jQuery, we are using a jQuery technology to call an API that gets triggered, and that will be listened by the REST endpoint in the server. And from the server, we are actually calling the design automation API. We have seen that how to get the engines. We have seen how to pick the local bundles when we call the get app bundles API REST endpoint from the client side. Now in the last leg of this session, we will be understanding. We have generated engines, we have generated bundles, and now we will be generating activities. So design automation API can give you a list of activities. Even though you have not created an activity, design automation provides certain public activities which are ready to be used, like plot to PDF, one activity for AutoCAD. And now we will see how to fetch the activities, both public and private activities, and we'll also see how we can write our own activity. After finishing writing the activity, then the last part is the work item, which will be executing this activity, and we'll see how the design automation works. So let's begin. First thing is creating an activity. Again, as I said, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to bother me. Let's create an activity in the session, and we'll also execute the work item. That's done. So let me go back to Chrome. Learn Forge. Code. So define an activity. So we have done this preparing the plugin. We have chosen the AutoCAD, and we have created the bundle. We also use this code for uploading the app bundle, and we also seen how to do that. The next part is the defining the activity. So since we are using the Node.js, we will click the Node.js. In this tutorial, the activity has 2 inputs. One is the source data, that is AutoCAD drawing or Inventor file or Revit file. And we also have a JSON data which has a length and width parameters, which we would like to change the model parameters, so the inputs. And there will be one output, the resultant AutoCAD drawing or resultant CAD design data after applying this modification. So let me ping you this link. Go for Node.js. So now we will write endpoints for creating an activity and get the existing. Copy this. If you go to come here, design automation. Here I will add. So this is the endpoint, design automation activities. So this will give all the available activities for this client ID. Let me save this. So now when we click a define activity, we should be able to get this kind of update. Let us understand what all okay. Till here we completed in the previous class, previous session about creating and uploading app bundle. Now we will be creating a new activity. This is the endpoint that gets created when we click the define activity button in our UI. So we are using this API, get activities API, which is the design automation instance. This will give us a list of all the activities that have been attached to this client ID. For the beginning, there won't be our private activities, so all you get is the public activities. And we will search whether our activity is part of the list of the activities. If it is not, we'll be creating it. So if it's not, if it doesn't include an activity ID, we will be creating it here. But if it is a part of this activity, we'll be not doing anything. We will be just say that the activity is already defined. So for the first time, if you put a breakpoint, this test would pass and would come inside. So we are creating an activity, and activity should have a nickname, a bundle name. The bundle name, the activity has, if you look at the spec of the activity, it has an activity name. It has a qualified app bundle. Since we already uploaded app bundle to the design automation server, we have a nickname, we have an app bundle name, we have an alias. So this makes a qualified bundle. Design automation always use qualified activity ID and qualified app bundle. And this is very important. It is a nickname which is unique, and app bundle name followed by period and plus this is the alias. And this is a command line based on the engine which we pick. The command line keeps changing. If it is AutoCAD, it's AC core. If it is the Revit, it is Revit core console. And the engine name, as I said, the activity has two parameters: input parameter, that is input file, the drawing file which we upload, and it has the input JSON. Those are the parameters that we enter into the UI height and width text boxes, and those inputs are serialized into a JSON file. And we have another output parameter that will give the modified design data. And we also have an attribute script. This is a script. In the script, the command update data parameter, the command gets triggered. So here we will be creating the new activity, create new activity. And for design automation, it's important that when you create an activity, you also need to create an alias to the activity. And alias, activities are recognized by their alias because alias holds the version of the activity. Design automation allows you to create 100 versions of an activity. So if you want to get the pinpoint to the particular activity, that is recognized by its alias. So if you look at here, the alias, we have created an alias, and alias is spec, and the version is 1. For the first time, it is the 1, but if you create if you want to have a new version, you need to change another version. This version number gets changed, and whatever the version, we will be creating the new version or updating the activity. Here we have a create activity. This is the creating new activity, but we also have something called updating the activity. So this API gets all the different activities. So get activities, you'll get all the different activities. Let's now let me run this. So come to start and F5. Beginning on the port 3000. Come here, localhost. So update DW is picked, and for this app bundle, the choice of engine should be Autodesk Autocad 24.1, and I'm creating an activity. So it's defining app bundle and activity for Autodesk Autocad 2024. So app bundle has created and activity has created. We're good. So we have an activity is created. This is the dev is the alias, and activity name is update DW param activity, and this is the nickname. If you don't give any nickname, the client ID will be the default nickname, but it is highly recommended that whenever you create an activity or bundle, first thing is you have to create your own nickname. The nickname will help you identify your app. So basically the nickname should resemble the functioning of your activity or the code, the functioning of your application. The name should resemble, or else this alphanumeric number doesn't make any sense. So that's why it's important that you create a nickname. Okay, we have created an activity. Let me stop the debugger and come back here. And next is executing the work item. So come here. Next part is executing the work item. We have understood the activity. Activity is more of a specification which will contains the inputs and outputs, whereas a work item is a job that executes the specified activity. So if you look at the code, the activity okay, if you look at this activity, it has the engine name, it has the command line, and if you look at the activity specification, the important thing is it has the name and the app bundle. So every activity is associated with engine and the app bundle, and work item is associated with the activity. And the relationship between the work item and activity is such that the relationship between the function call and function definition. So what the most important factor between the function call and function definition is the function signature, the argument signature. The number of arguments present in the function definition should be same with the number of arguments present in the function call. In a similar way, the number of parameters and the name of the parameters present in the activity should be in sync with the number of arguments and the name of arguments present in the work item. you look at the parameters are input file, input JSON, and output file. And work item should also have the similar argument name, that is input file, input JSON, output file. Okay, now let us put Node.js. In activity, we talk about the parameter names, whereas in work item we actually give the URLs where this parameter or where this file is located. In activity, we just label them, whereas in work item we actually give the files to them. So copy this again. Come to here. Come to the end of the file. Just over here, paste it. Now let us walk through this code. So when we call this endpoint, it will start a new work item. First and foremost thing is first it has to take the input file. And in this work item, we are doing two things. First, we are getting the file that is uploaded from a browser, and that file is read by the server, and from the server we are uploading to the OSS bucket. Because we need some cloud storage, for this reason we are using OSS bucket. This OSS bucket is just a convenience. In place of OSS bucket, you can use Azure, AWS, Dropbox, or anything else, as long as it can understand our HTTP. And the second thing is uploading input file. Now reading the bucket and creating a bucket key and uploading that file to the creating object key and uploading the file to the input file. If you look at, we have prepared the work item arguments. If you look at the prepare input URL, as I said that the input file argument and input JSON argument should be in sync with the activity. We have one input, two inputs, and one output file argument. So if you'll understand here, input file, input JSON, output file. This should be in sync with the activity. If I do Control F3, if you look at here, input file, which is a part of activity, this should be same with the input file available in the work item. Okay. So the first thing is uploading the file from the client browser and reading that file on our server. After reading the file, putting that file into object storage service, some cloud storage service that is offered by the Autodesk, and will be, after placing that file in storage service, creating a signed URL for that file. So here we are actually uploading the resource to the bucket, and we are generating a signed URL. This URL is signed. When we say signed URL, what we are missing, we do not need any authorization. This URL can be downloaded. If you put this URL on a browser, GET request, it will download that file. So it's signed URL. So that URL, we are preparing it. We are preparing it here, preparing input URL. If you look at, we're calling this API get S3 download URL. So our files are directly sitting in AWS S3. So the link, what we get is directly the link of AWS S3. But we are using OSS Object Storage Service, which is a thin wrapper between Forge and AWS. But once file is stored in S3, we're gonna get a direct S3 URL. So we are preparing input URL, and we are also creating a placeholder URL so that whatever the output design automation generates, that goes back and sit in the S3 bucket. So for that, we are creating a placeholder output URL. Again, that's a signed URL. Okay. Here we prepared input file argument, input JSON. So the width and the parameters which are coming from the URL are stored in the input JSON. And if you look at, this is very important, if you look at, we are using something called a data URI protocol. Whenever we have something called data URL. Data URL is something called, if you want to embed certain part of, if you want to embed a piece of binary file in the URL, you can use this data protocol. It's the data followed by the MIME. It says that we are embedding a JSON file in this URL. So this URL will contain the JSON data because we are using application/JSON. Instead of that, it could be some other MIMEs also, but Json automation only supports this type of MIME, that is application/JSON. So we get this URL. Next, and the output file name, which is a placeholder. So after preparing this work item specification, which has activity name which we created in earlier, and we are passing the arguments, input argument, input JSON output, and we have something called onComplete. This is a callback that Json automation offers. When the Json automation work item job is completed, whatever the URL it has, this callback URL, that gets triggered. And that we have to write it. If you look at this callback URL, this is the callback URL that we are passing to the Json automation. Once the job is completed, it will call this URL, and we need an endpoint for this. So if we come here, the next is on callback. So copy this. When work item, as I said, that when work item is done, Json automation will call back our app using the ngrok forwarding URL. This function will handle. So copy, then come here and just paste here. So this is the endpoint that is applied to the Json automation service. Once the job is completed, they're going to call this URL. And once we hit our breakpoint here, we will pass that information to our client, whatever the body JSON. And we're also doing one interesting thing here. Once the job is completed, that is in this, once the job is completed, we are completing the object that is uploaded to signed URL, that is S3. So we are completing that. So there are 3 steps when we upload an object to S3. So first we need to create an object. Then we need to get the signed URL that gives an URL, S3 URL. To that URL, we want to upload an object to that URL. Once we upload the object, we need to complete it. We are saying, okay, our object has been completed by passing the upload keyword, which we got received in the object key. When we create an object, that upload key. If you look at that, we are passing that upload key for this complete S3 upload. Now, and we will be deleting all the objects once the Json automation job is completed. Okay, now we are good to go. Now we have something called clear account. This gets triggered when we run the clear account. Clear out the clear account button. Next thing is run and debug. So let's start. Okay. So already I have created an activity, so no need to create. You can see that it activity is picked. So I'm giving some values, parameter values, width that is 40 units and 80 units. I need to choose a file. So if we go here, we will in File Explorer. Okay, I need AutoCAD drawing. So how do you get the drawing? I don't have that. So let us go to GitHub. Learn Forge. GitHub. If you look at here, we have something called sample files. So I'm interested in drawing file. Go here and download. Let me create a folder called sample files. Okay. Download code sample files. Okay. So if you want to download other samples, you come here and I will give you that. You can paste it here. You can use this link to download. Sorry. Next, so come here, file. Sorry, come here. So select this. We have selected it. Now let's kickstart the work item. And when we run this work item, it will does two things. As I said that this file is uploaded to AWS S3 using OSS API, Forge Data Management API, and it will prepare a work item specification. Then it will start triggering the work item object. That's where actually the billing starts. Now uploading the input file. Now, when we see this work item started, this is the time where the billing actually started. It is success. We got it. So if you look at here, the billing starts from the time downloaded started minus time downloaded ended. So whatever the differences, whatever the time difference between time uploaded ended minus time download started, you need to use this metric to compute how much the charge is happening. So the Forge for design automation, it's 4 cloud credits per hour. So you can calculate for 60 minutes, it's $4 or 4 cloud credits. So we can compute the time, that is time uploaded ended minus time downloaded started. Whatever the time it has taken. So if you look at here, it has taken 6 seconds. It's finished in not 6 seconds, less than 6 seconds. It's like 58 seconds, 6 milliseconds, I think. It's completed very fast. 58, 47, 53. 12, 58, yeah, so it has taken 6 seconds time. So we have completed it. If you look at 40 and 80, let me download that. Okay. Let me launch Autocad 23. And if you look at this callback got triggered. Design automation has called this URL. That's why we got a 200 OK here. Control O. So let me open this drawing. If you look at, if you run the properties, you look at the width and the height has become 40 parameters, the block. Let me stop this. Okay, that comes to our completion. And we have completed how to exit, we are done, and you have some more time, like 30 minutes. You can use this time to ask, experiment with. If you have some questions, please do not ask, please do ask me. I think for now the session is completed, session is done, but I will be available here for another half an hour. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask me. And if you need more help, Stack Overflow is our main support channel. Based on the 4 services, you can use this tags, and you can also go to the Forge developer portal and get help there as well. And and you can also write Forge help@autodesk.com. And the most interesting thing is, you can go to, you can search for Forge Doctor in. Doctor is in. Go to this blog, and you can check out the full Calendly. You can check out this Calendly, and you can pick any of the resources. Every resource has expertise on particular service of Forge. Like I am expert on the design automation. We have people who are expert on the Forge viewer, BIM 360, and design automation, model derivative. You can pick any of these doctors, and you can book a call, and you can discuss, have one-on-one if you have more questions on this or anything else. If you have no clue what is Forge, you can pick any person based on the timing. So suppose if I go to my window, my channel, so I have opened, these are the dates for the next week. You can pick any of this time. Go to this one and pick 11:30 a.m., which is Indian Standard Time. Click this. When you click this, it will open a window. You write your name, email. If you have any guests, you can write their guest email address, also your company name, and enter what you would like to discuss. And it's a 30-minute slot. We can also extend it on the requirement basis. Let me ping that link as well. Any questions? You can just raise a hand if you find it good. Okay, I'm stopping the share. I'll be around. I'm also stopping the recording.